Hello, sports fans. It is Monday, December the 17th, the year 2012. And as usual, a lot to get to in the sports world, so let's get it going right now. Let's wrap up week 15 of the NFL. I thought this was going to be a great week for football games. I thought we were going to have some exciting matchups, a lot of good teams playing each other. There were a lot of blowouts yesterday. It's unbelievable. Some things just don't go as planned, and this weekend did not go as planned at all. I mean, how many blowouts were there yesterday, especially in the early games? Let's start with the Thursday night game. Cincinnati beats Philadelphia 34-13 in Philadelphia. Bengals go to 8-6. They're leading the wild card. They have a big game against Pittsburgh this week. The Eagles 4-10. I mean, they can do nothing right. They did beat Tampa a couple weeks ago. They come right back and start playing bad football again. The Eagles were actually up 13-10 in the third quarter in this game, and then the turnovers came. The Eagles had 5 turnovers. You turn the ball over 5 times, you're going to lose. Cincinnati gets the win. Like I said, next week, Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. That's going to decide that last playoff spot. Philadelphia home for Washington. Maybe they could play spoiler against the Redskins. All right, let's get to the Sunday games. Green Bay yesterday goes into Soldier Field and beats the Chicago Bears 21-13. Green Bay goes up to 10-4. They win the division. Bears drop to 8-6, and the Bears are falling out of the playoffs. If you told me the Bears were not going to be in the playoffs a few weeks ago, I would have thought you were crazy. But the Bears have now lost 2 straight games, and if you lose 2 straight weeks in the NFL, you start to fall back a lot. You lose multiple games, you're in trouble. And the Bears, once again, yesterday, couldn't get it done offensively. I mean, they just couldn't do it. Their offensive line is shaky. They have Brandon Marshall, and he's a very good receiver. They don't have much to complement him. Cutler seems like he can go off at any time. He's just looking for someone to yell at. So the Bears' defense, we know, is solid. The Bear offense continues to struggle. And yesterday, Aaron Rodgers for Green Bay was good. He had 3 touchdowns, and Green Bay has Chicago's number. Green Bay has beaten Chicago 6 straight times. That's 3 full seasons worth of games. And this is a big rivalry. It always seems the games are close, and it always seems Green Bay wins. Nothing was different yesterday. Rodgers outplays Cutler. The Green Bay offense outplays the Chicago offense. And there you go. Green Bay 10-4, and they should be 11-3. They got robbed against Seattle. And I don't even think Green Bay is playing their best football, and they're still 10-4. Nice win for Green Bay, and Chicago, look out, they are in major trouble. They have to win their last 2 games, and they probably need a little help as well. So we'll keep an eye on them. Next week, Green Bay home for Tennessee. Chicago at Arizona. They got to get the job done. Chicago next week in the desert. Let's move on. Let's go to Atlanta. The Atlanta Falcons absolutely drubbed the New York Giants 34-0. Who saw this coming? I mean, I know the Giants are inconsistent week to week during the regular season. You don't know what you're going to get, but 34-0. This started early. Eli threw the pick right in the beginning of the game. Atlanta scored. The game was basically over from there. All Atlanta, start to finish. Eli didn't look good at all. Atlanta did whatever they want. Atlanta with a nice bounce-back win. They go to 12-2. Giants also in trouble now. They're 8-6. They've let the Redskins jump ahead of them. They've let Dallas catch up. Minnesota has jumped ahead of them. The Giants are going to have to win their last 2 games. If they win their last 2 games, I think they can make it the way things are going to break out. But they have to win their last 2 games. They're at Baltimore next week. Not an easy game. I know Baltimore is struggling, but I mean, my goodness, the Giants have put themselves in a bad position. So a terrible loss by the Giants yesterday. We've seen this act before from them. Nice bounce-back win for Atlanta. Like I said, Giants at Baltimore next week. Atlanta has the Saturday game at Detroit. Remember, no Thursday night game this week. 1 Saturday night game. It's Atlanta at Detroit. And after tonight, no more Monday night games and only 1 more Sunday night game. So we're getting towards the end of the NFL season here. All right, let's move on. Let's go to Cleveland. The Washington Redskins beat the Cleveland Browns 38-21 in the dog pound in Cleveland. Washington goes to 8-6, 5 in a row. They go into first place. What an amazing job by Washington. Cleveland goes to 5-9. Not a good performance by them. The story of the day, Robert Griffin III, who did not play for Washington. The backup Cousins, who's also a rookie, played well. He played well. I was wondering why the Redskins took Cousins, because they had already drafted Robert Griffin III. They come back and they take Cousins later on in the draft. He's another rookie. He played well. You saw why they took him. He has ability. He was good at Michigan State. He was good yesterday. He was good last week. So nice job by Washington without their star quarterback to get this win on the road. Not a good job by Cleveland. They have a vulnerable Washington team in their building, and they gave up 38 points. Whedon with 2 picks. Setback for Cleveland. They were starting to play a little better. Not a good job yesterday. Washington at Philly yesterday. Next week, Cleveland at Denver. Let's move on. Let's go to Houston. The Houston Texans beat the Indianapolis Colts 29-17. Houston wins the division. They go to 12-2. The Colts drop to 9-5. Houston had a 20-3 lead in this game. They blocked a punt. They ran it back for a touchdown. The Colts tried to rally, but they came up a little short. Houston kept Indianapolis in this game because you know what they did? They settled for field goals. 5 field goals for Houston yesterday. You cannot settle for field goals. They got away with it yesterday, but you need to get those in the end zone. That comes back to bite you all the time. In this day and age in the NFL, you need touchdowns, not field goals. Like I said, Indianapolis tried to rally. They got it close. They got it to 23-17. They couldn't get any closer than that. Schaub was good. Johnson was good. Foster was good late. So Houston gets the job done. They win the division. They're home next week against Minnesota. That's a nice game. And Indianapolis at Kansas City. Indianapolis still trying to get into the playoffs. They're in good shape, though. Let's move on. Let's go to the Big D, Dallas. The Dallas Cowboys in overtime beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 27-24. Dallas goes to 8-6, keeps their playoff hopes alive. Pittsburgh drops to 7-7. This ruined the division for the Steelers. They could have, maybe contended for the division if they won here. They didn't. They let Baltimore off the hook there. Plus, Cincinnati now has jumped them in the wild card. The only positive here is the Steelers do play Cincinnati next week in Pittsburgh. So if Pittsburgh beats Cincinnati next week, they're going to jump the Bengals. But still, the Steelers were up 24-17 in this game. Brown has a nice punt return, and what happens? He fumbles the ball. The Steelers have been bitten by the turnover bug all year. Once again, they do it again. Brown turns the ball over. Dallas goes down and scores, ties it up. And in overtime, Dallas wins the game off the big Roethlisberger interception. Terrible pass by Roethlisberger. Carr, who came over from Kansas City, he makes the big interception. He runs it back to the 1. From there, Dallas kicks the game-winning field goal. Dallas is like the comeback kids now. They're down every week. They always rally. Sometimes they win, sometimes they lose. And they always are coming back at the end of these games. Dallas has talent. They have Romo. They have nice receivers in Austin, in Bryant. They have the good tight end in Witten. They have some guys in the secondary on defense. They have Ware who can rush the passer. Dallas has talent. They're just so inconsistent all the time. Nice job by Dallas. Dallas home for New Orleans. Dallas is in the thick of the playoff race and the division race. Pittsburgh, huge game next week against Cincinnati. Must have, or else they're not going to make the playoffs. Let's move on. Let's go to Baltimore. The Denver Broncos continue to stay red hot. The Broncos bury the Ravens 34-17 in Baltimore. Denver up to 11-3. They're on absolute fire. They go up to the 2 seed. We'll get to why later because New England lost. Baltimore drops to 9-5. They're in a complete free fall. The biggest play of the game at the end of the half, it is 10-0 Denver. Baltimore is driving, and they get a huge interception, Denver, and they run it back 98 yards. Harris with the big interception. So instead of Baltimore maybe getting it to 10-7 or 10-3, it goes to 17-0 at the half. Lights out from there. All Denver the rest of the way. Baltimore scored a couple of, last-second touchdowns at the end of the game that didn't mean anything. Denver was cruising in this game in the second half. All Denver all the way. Baltimore, major, major problems. Baltimore next week, home for the Giants. Denver home for Cleveland. Denver can clinch a 2 seed if they win their next 2 games. Unbelievable. They have jumped New England and the 2 seed. Remember, that's important. You get home field and you get a bye. So very important win for Denver yesterday. Baltimore, what's going on with them? Their offense, it doesn't look good. Their defense hasn't looked good all year. Ray Lewis still out. Suggs is back, but he's still playing hurt. A lot of injuries on defense. I don't like what I see at all from Baltimore. Let's move on. Let's go down to Miami. The Miami Dolphins beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 24-3. Miami goes to 6-8. Jacksonville 2-12. Tannehill was good. Miami got the job done. It was close early. Miami pulled away late. What's the story with Jacksonville? Jacksonville had 2 weeks there where they played well. They took Houston in overtime. They scored a bunch of points. They came back and beat Tennessee. The offense looked good. Since then, they have reverted back to their form. I mean, Henne looks awful. Where are the receivers that played so well? Since they played well those 2 weeks about a month ago, they got drubbed by Buffalo. They couldn't do anything against the Jets, and they scored 3 points against Miami yesterday. And Jacksonville cannot convert a third or fourth and short. They just can't do it. They're down to like their fifth string running back. Maurice Jones-Drew basically hasn't played the whole year. I mean, they are inept offensively. It is unbelievable that they could not score a touchdown against Miami, who's not great. Nice job, Miami. They're 6-8. I do like Tannehill. I think the future is bright for Miami, but they did beat Jacksonville. I can't go crazy. Jacksonville, I mean, they're back to their losing ways. Miami next week home for Buffalo. Jacksonville home for New England. Good luck with that one. Let's move on. Let's go to St. Louis. The Minnesota Vikings go into St. Louis and beat the St. Louis Rams 36-22. The Vikings go to 8-6. Right now, the Vikings are in the playoffs. They hold the tiebreaker right now, and St. Louis drops to 6-7-1. Not a good performance by St. Louis. I've been impressed with St. Louis this year, not yesterday. Minnesota drubbed them. And how about Adrian Peterson? Over 200 yards again. Unbelievable season by Adrian Peterson. He has a chance to break Eric Dickerson's all-time single-season rushing mark. Are you kidding me? Adrian Peterson had a catastrophic knee injury last year. He's playing better than ever. Amazing job by him. Amazing job by the team. They had 3 wins last year. They have 8 this year. They've almost tripled their win total. Coaching has done a great job. I can't say anything bad about Minnesota. Unbelievable job. Minnesota at Houston next week. Very tough game. St. Louis at Tampa. Let's move on. Let's go to New Orleans, the Superdome, another one of my favorite stadiums. I don't love domes. I don't love AstroTurf. I do like the fans in New Orleans there. They're dressed up in their get-ups. They are really loud, really passionate. New Orleans just buries Tampa yesterday, 41-0. New Orleans goes up to 6-8. Tampa drops to 6-8. Tampa's hit the wall. They were 6-6. They had a nice lead against Philadelphia. They lost basically at the gun last week against Philly, and they come back this week and lay an egg in New Orleans and Freeman yesterday. The game was still close yesterday, and Freeman threw 4 interceptions. It seemed every time Tampa Bay got into the red zone, Freeman threw another interception. Oh, here's a pick. Oh, here New Orleans, take another one. Freeman played awful. We know Tampa's defense is not any good. We know New Orleans can score. Nice job by New Orleans. Breeze bounces back after a couple of bad weeks. He played well. Tampa Bay has hit the wall. Terrible loss by them. And that is, that's followed up by the loss they had last week to Philadelphia, which was an atrocious loss. So Tampa's hit the wall. Overall, it did a nice job, but their season is over now. They cannot make the playoffs. So Tampa Bay, bad loss by them. They are home for St. Louis. New Orleans at Dallas. They could play spoiler and beat the Cowboys. Let's move on. Here's a beautiful game. The Oakland Raiders at home beat the Kansas City Chiefs 15-0. Oakland goes to 4-10. Kansas City 2-12. 2-12. Oakland came into this game with the worst defense in the NFL. They had given up like over 400 points for the year. No one was even close at that point. Kansas City couldn't score a point. Not a field goal, not a safety, not a touchdown, not anything. Zero. Goose. I mean, I don't understand it. First of all, why is Brady Quinn quarterbacking? I don't love Matt Castle, but he's better than Brady Quinn. I know Bo is out for Kansas City, the receiver. You can't score a point against Oakland. Not a point in a big rivalry game. Awful, awful job by Kansas City. Kansas City got a win a couple of weeks ago against Carolina right after their tragedy. They showed some signs of life. They played well in that game. I liked what they did. Since then, they have lost 30-7 to Cleveland and 15-0 to Oakland. Need I say more? Can't go crazy about Oakland. They couldn't even get a touchdown this game. They do win. They're up to 4-10. They're still a bad team. Oakland at Carolina next week. Kansas City home for Indianapolis. Good luck there. Let's move on. Let's go to the desert. The Arizona Cardinals beat the Detroit Lions 38-10. Let me say it again. The Arizona Cardinals beat the Detroit Lions 38-10. The Cardinals had lost 9 games in a row coming into this game. 9 in a row. Cardinals get the win. They're up to 5-9. Detroit's 4-10. Detroit's 4-10. What planet is Detroit on this year? How bad did they play yesterday? Detroit was up 7-0, And from that point on, they looked like a circus act. They muffed the punt, gave Arizona a touchdown. Stafford threw a pick that was run back, throws another pick that sets up another touchdown. Stafford interceptions all over the place. Stafford has ability. He throws way too many interceptions. Detroit's defense is awful. I like their front. They have nothing else. Their special teams are atrocious, been bad all year. Detroit is a soft team. I'll tell you, Schwartz, the coach of Detroit, he had a nice year last year. Everyone said he was a nice, hot, young coach. He was an up-and-comer. He was going to be a really good coach for years to come. I'll tell you what. I'm not saying he deserves to be fired this year. I'll tell you what. He comes back and has this performance next year, he's gone. They have had a miserable season, Detroit. I mean, an embarrassing season. Imagine you're a Lion fan and you have to sit through this slop week after week. Arizona had lost 9 in a row and couldn't score on anyone. They lost 59-0 to Seattle last week. They lost 7-6 to the Jets the week before. They're playing their third-string quarterback who can't play. Detroit, shame on you. Awful, soft, deplorable. Arizona next week home for Chicago. Detroit, like I said, they have the Saturday night game home for Atlanta. I expect nothing from Detroit. Awful job by them. Let's move on. Let's go to a team that reminds me of Detroit. Let's go out to San Diego. The Carolina Panthers go into San Diego and beat San Diego 31-7. Carolina's won 2 in a row. They beat Atlanta last week, beat San Diego this week. Nice job by Carolina. They're playing a little better. Cam Newton looks better. They're 5-9. San Diego's 5-9. They beat Pittsburgh last week in Pittsburgh. I don't know how that happened. That's more on the Steelers than, a positive for the Chargers. And what does the Chargers do? They come back home and they get drubbed by Carolina. They were down 31-0 in this game to Carolina. They lose 31-7 to Carolina. Carolina? I mean, who are we talking about here? San Diego, another inept team. They're like Detroit. How bad has San Diego been? And it's not just this year. Year after year after year, you watch this team fumble and throw interceptions. Rivers throws a pass that goes backwards. North Turner, who was a great offensive coordinator, is lost as a coach. They have a soft defense. They're soft all over the field. Terrible job by San Diego. They're just as bad as Detroit. San Diego at the Jets next week. Oh my goodness, imagine San Diego, right before the holidays has to come to New York across the country. I'm sure they're going to be very up for that game, and they're playing the Jets. That should be a snoozer. Carolina home for Oakland, another atrocious game. Let's move on. I can't take it. Although I have to talk about another awful team. Let's go up to Toronto, where Buffalo played their annual game in Toronto. The Seattle Seahawks beat the Buffalo Bills 50-17. 50-17. I mean, what is going on here? Seattle generally struggles on the road. Seattle up to 9-5. They look very impressive. Seattle wins 59-0 last week, and they come back and score another 50 this week. What's going on here? Buffalo drops to 5-9. What's with Buffalo's defense? Where is Buffalo's defense? Where is this amazing front that was supposed to shut everyone down this year? 50 points? I mean, my goodness, that's an awful, awful job. I mean, and if the NFL is going to start putting these bad teams, to play these showcase games in other countries, please, let's put some good teams. I mean, it's bad enough you put Jacksonville in London. Now you got Buffalo and Toronto. Are these the teams you want to showcase around the world? Let's put some decent teams in these games. I mean, Buffalo, my goodness, awful, awful performance by the Bills. Buffalo at Miami next week. Seattle home for San Francisco. That is the Sunday night game. Let's move on. Let's move on to actually a game that turned out decent, that started out as a blowout. Last night, the San Francisco 49ers beat the New England Patriots 41-34 in New England. New England drops to 10-4. That let Denver jumps them now. Denver is the 2 seed. New England drops to 3. San Francisco goes up to 10-3-1. Very big win for San Francisco because they hold off Seattle now for any challenge for the division. The Niners were up in this game 31-3 in the second half. New England scores to make it 31-10. Scores again 31-17. Scores again 31-24. Scores again 31-31. 4 straight possessions New England scored. In the rain, in the slop, they tie the game at 31. Then the next kickoff, New England kicks off to San Francisco. San Francisco has a nice run back to the New England 40. First play from there, Kaepernick to Crabtree, 40-yard touchdown. Niners go up 7. Then New England gets stopped on downs in their own territory. Niners kick a field goal. Niners hang on and win. Very strange game. Niners had a 28-point lead, blow it, come back and win. Give the fans of New England credit. It was a cold, rainy, icy day, and they hung in there. Even when they were down 31-3, they were cheering hard. They hung in the game. New England, I did not like what I saw in the first half from them. I still don't love their defense. They did rally in the second half. I still think New England's defense is going to bite them in a big spot. San Francisco, I mean, I love the first half. I like what Kaepernick can do. Still, you cannot let New England go down the field and score 4 straight possessions. Overall, though, San Francisco does get the win. I can't go crazy about them, giving up so many points in the second half because they did win the game. All right, like I said, New England at Jacksonville next week, San Francisco at Seattle on the Sunday night. Tonight, we have Tennessee and the Jets. I mean, the Jets are still alive for the playoffs, believe it or not. I'm not excited about this game. Tennessee's an awful, awful team. Not excited about this game, but the Jets still are in the playoff hunt, believe it or not. So we'll keep an eye on that game. A few news and notes. That's your NFL. Few news and notes from the sports world over the weekend. Let's start in the NBA. The Knicks beat the Lakers last night. Carmelo Anthony sprains his ankle. He's going to miss a couple games. We'll see if he can get back this week. Then the Knicks follow that up and beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. Varejao misses a big free throw at the end of the game. The Lakers, like I said, they lose to the Knicks. The Lakers do come back and beat Washington, then beat Philadelphia yesterday. Lakers still not playing great basketball. They did win 2 in a row, though. San Antonio beats Boston. Boston loses 2 in a row. They lose to Houston, then lose to San Antonio. It's a very tough Texas trip when you got to play those Texas teams on the road. Minnesota beats Dallas in overtime. Rubio is back. Good to see him back. Nets beat Detroit in 2 overtimes on Friday. Then they lose to the Bulls by 1 on Saturday in a very tough game. Golden State lost to Orlando, and then they come back the next night, go to Atlanta, and blow out Atlanta. Golden State is having a really nice year. 6-1 on the road trip. That's an all-time high for Golden State on the road. Really nice job by Golden State. They're playing tremendous basketball. Let's go to the college basketball. Butler shocks #1 Indiana in overtime. Great win by Butler. There were several times in this game you thought Indiana was going to pull away. Butler kept rallying and rallying. Even Clark Kellogg, who did the game, on for the CBS network, kept saying that Indiana's going to pull away any second. Butler doesn't have anything left in the tank, and Butler kept coming back, and they clipped #1 Indiana in a great game from Indianapolis. I hope you watched that game. Also for Indianapolis, Notre Dame rolled over Purdue. Michigan handled West Virginia in Brooklyn. Louisville had a huge second half and rallied to beat Memphis at Memphis. Arizona clipped Florida in Tucson. Florida was leading this game from start to finish. They melted down the stretch. They missed a big free throw. They had 2 key turnovers. Arizona clips Florida by 1 point at the end. They have the big basket with a couple of seconds left. Florida really let that game slip away. Also tonight, you have Syracuse against Detroit. Why is that a big game? Boeheim looking for his milestone, so if you can get a chance, keep an eye on that at the Carrier Dome tonight. A couple of bowl games in college football. The New Mexico Bowl. Arizona beats Nevada 49-48. Arizona's down 17 points in the fourth quarter. They rally to win. They score 14 points in the last minute of the game. They get an onside kick and win. Really nice win by Arizona. Terrible loss by Nevada. You're up 17 points in the fourth quarter, you lose. You're up 14 points with a minute to go and you lose. Awful loss by Nevada. Nice job by Arizona coming back. And the Idaho Potato Bowl in Boise. Utah State crushes Toledo 41-15. Close early, ugly late. Toledo's got no offense whatsoever. Utah State ended up with a nice year, 11-2. Nice job by them. Not an easy place to win. Okay. So tonight, here's what you got tonight. You have Tennessee Jets. I know it's not a great game. I don't love it. We'll keep an eye on it. I mean, it's the last Monday night game of the year. Also, you have Syracuse and Jim Boeheim looking for that milestone at the Carrier Dome. You want to keep an eye on that. Tonight in the NBA, you have Houston at the Knicks. You have San Antonio at Oklahoma City. Very nice game. You have Chicago and Memphis. Tomorrow, we're going to do the Monday Night Football recap. We're going to go through our NFL standings. We're going to go through, who's in, who's out, who's got a chance, who's playing who. We're going to go through all that. I'm going to go through all the Monday scores in the NBA, the college basketball. Also going to maybe go through the college basketball top 25. Wednesday, I'll do my State of the Union in the NBA. We'll go through the whole NBA, see who's up, down, playing well, playing bad. And Thursday, wall-to-wall NFL picks. So there we are. That wraps up the sports world for today, Monday. You guys enjoy the games tonight. I will talk to you tomorrow. Stay safe. Thanks for tuning in. I will talk to you tomorrow, Tuesday. Take care.